So now that we have our patterns ready, we want to cut the fabric using the patterns. Don't forget that we only divided by 4. That means we only cut 1/4 of the actual measurements. So now we need to cut the front and the back. So we are going to cut the front and the back differently. For this front, we are cutting on fold. Since we have half of front already, by the time we cut on fold, it's going to be double. Don't forget that we did not add sewing allowance to this pattern when we were grafting. So this is the time to add sewing allowance to it. I ironed it off camera. It's always advisable you iron your fabric before cutting. It makes it smooth and easy to work with. So we are adding, since this skirt, I do not intend it to have lining. So we are going to have just 1 inch allowance on the side seam and 1/2 inch sewing allowance on all the other joining. That is the joining to the band. We carry 1/2 inch sewing allowance. The hem too, we have 1 inch sewing allowance. I hope that is clear. I would like to pin this down so it makes my work easier. And then for the side seam, 1 inch straight down. One beautiful thing about pattern drafting is that while you might think that it takes longer to draft the pattern, once you get the pattern right and then you cut out on fabric, the efficiency is measured in the time spent in sewing, because it reduces your sewing time, for me, by more than half. So which one will you rather choose? Instead of going back and forth at the sewing machine, wouldn't you rather just get it right the first time and continue? So this is for the front pattern, and I'm going to cut it out now. Cut out the front pattern. Don't forget to mark your dart points. And then before you remove the pattern from the paper, also mark where the dart is going to stop. So let's cut the back pattern. The back pattern is going to carry the zip allowance. Fine. I hope you can see what I'm doing. So we are leaving at 1 inch allowance for sewing, for zip, and also 1 inch allowance for side seam, while the lower part, the hem, is going to take 1 inch sewing allowance, the band 1/2 inch sewing allowance. Your zip, the length of your zip should not be anything less than 8 inches, so that it can get to your hip. If not, it's good. If you have anything less than 8 inches for your zip, it's going to be too tight for it to pass through your hip. I hope that is clear too. So let's mark our allowances. 1/2 inch for band, 1 inch for side seam, 1 inch for zip. Don't forget that we adjusted the center back by 1/2 inch on the waistline, so you are not doing a straight line as 1 inch. It's going to have a curve towards the waist, and then the lower parts we have 1 inch allowance. And this is when you determine the length of your slit. Since this is a fitted skirt, you are expected to have a slit. And I did not incorporate that when I was drafting the pattern because I intended just doing a straight slit, not an overlapping slit rather. And then I'm coming up by 8 inches to where the slit will stop, or where the sewing will stop. Pardon me, please. So we have our back too. So now is the time to cut our band. The same way we cut the center front on fold, we are also going to cut this on fold. We're also going to pin this down so it doesn't stress us out. We are adding half an inch sewing allowance around this pattern because up here we are going to use the half an inch sewing allowance to join the first band to the second band, and down here we are going to use the half inch sewing allowance to join it back to the skirt. So but by the center back we are adding 1 inch sewing allowance, just the way we did on the center back line of the skirt, so that we can use this for the zip. I hope that is clear. Okay, don't forget we are cutting 2 of this. This is just the first one. And then we are also adding interfacing to it. So I'll just squeeze this up and use it to cut the next one. That makes it easier. Yep. So this is I'm notching the center front so I will know where to start in case the paper goes off the fabric. And then we are adding interfacing, that's hair stay, to this pattern to reinforce it. I'm going to do that off camera, then we'll return to the sewing machine.